Imagine thinking you're in a loving relationship, only to discover your boyfriend has been introducing you to his parents as his personal housekeeper, while you're out buying groceries. 8 months of cooking, cleaning, and supporting him, and not once did he see you as a human. Welcome to my life. So, I met Tiago at this international street food festival about 8 months ago. He was selling these pastries from his home country in South America, had this charming accent, and, let's be real, he was cute as hell. He gave me an extra pastry on the house with his number scribbled on a napkin. Cue my brain screaming rom-com cliché incoming. We started dating, and at first, he was perfect. Sweet, attentive, fun. He'd talk about his culture, his accent made my knees weak, yada yada. Fast forward a couple of months, and suddenly Tiago was living at my apartment. Not officially, of course. Just, all his stuff was there. Overnight. He never offered to pay rent or utilities, and I ignored it because love makes you blind, apparently. Then the little comments started. Women from your country don't talk like that. You're so loud when you laugh. You wouldn't survive back home. At first, I laughed nervously. Cultural differences, right? But then I realized, he wasn't joking. His contribution to household chores and finances? Minimal at best. Most days he sat at my desk playing games while I came home exhausted from work to cook and clean. I finally said something about splitting expenses, and he threw a 2-day silent treatment tantrum like I'd personally insulted his entire lineage. And I apologized. Because apparently, noticing financial imbalance equals counting pennies like a shopkeeper. Then came the weekend. Tiago's parents were in town, and he insisted on a fancy dinner at my apartment. I spent the entire day cooking 3 dishes, cleaning, and stressing over every detail. By the time they arrived, I was ready to collapse. His parents were polite, sure, but I noticed they spoke mostly in their language, even across the table from me. Tiago translated sporadically, vaguely, like, oh, they're just talking about a cousin's baby. Halfway through dinner, I had to run out for something I'd forgotten for dessert. 15 minutes away, and when I returned, the conversation had shifted. Here's the kicker, I remembered my security cameras. They weren't hidden, just standard peace-of-mind cameras facing the living room and kitchen. I checked the footage and used a translation service. And oh, the horror. Tiago and his parents were talking about me. Not like, she's great. Not even, thanks for dinner. No. The transcript. She's not very pretty, but she cleans up after you well. She knows her place at least. She's like a free housekeeper. Smart choice, son. American girls are so easy to manipulate. Just make them feel bad about asking for anything, and they'll give you everything. Tiago laughed along. He wasn't defending me, wasn't saying a word. Just participating. My face went pale. 8 months, and this was who he really was. By the time Tiago got out of the shower the next morning, I was calmly packing all his stuff into garbage bags. Not neatly. Not lovingly. I tore up photos of us, shoved his clothes, shoes, and gaming headset into the bags. He walked in, towel around his waist, and I told him I knew. Every word. Every laugh. The cameras. The transcript. His face first split between shock and denial, then shifted to anger when he realized I wasn't buying it. He yelled about privacy invasion like it was my fault he called me his personal housekeeper to his parents. In my own home. On cameras he knew were there. So now I'm sitting here, typing this from my friend's couch, because I can't be in the same space as him another second. I'm packing him out of my life. I was still weirdly calm, just stuffing his stuff into garbage bags while he ranted like a cartoon villain. That calm didn't last long. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, yanked me toward him, and started yelling that I was crazy, overreacting, and that women from his country didn't throw tantrums over nothing. At that point, my calm snapped. I yanked my arm back so hard his nails scraped my skin. I shoved him away and said, "Get out of my apartment. You have 20 minutes to get dressed and take your stuff or I'm calling the police." He laughed, "Well, kind of." Then came the classic line, "You're throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you." Oh, sure, the best thing ever, a man who mocked me to his parents, contributed nothing, and treated me like a live-in servant. I reminded him, everything he'd been enjoying was mine. My apartment. My food. My Netflix. My life. I called him a parasite. His face went red. I half expected him to hit me, but instead, he stormed into the bathroom to get dressed. A few minutes later, fully clothed but still seething, he tried to have the last word. "You'll regret this. You'll call me crying in a few days. No one else will put up with you." I just opened the door wider and pointed out reality. Before leaving, he knocked over the little table by the door, scattering my keys and mail. Then, slam, he was gone. Neighbor across the hall checked in, confused. I collapsed on the living room floor, wrist bruised, thinking, how did I let someone treat me like this for 8 months? After an hour of sitting, crying, and half laughing at the absurdity, I switched to practical mode. I texted my friend Bridget, who immediately offered help, but I needed some alone time first. I gathered his remaining belongings, called a locksmith, $2.75 for an emergency Sunday call, but by 6 p.m., new locks were on my door. Worth every penny. Then the text started. First calm, then frantic, then manipulative. "You're making a big mistake. Can I get my charger? Are you seriously ignoring me? And the kicker, it's a cultural thing, you wouldn't understand." I almost threw my phone across the room. Bridget came over with wine and takeout, and we sat together, reviewing the translated footage. She was livid. I had to literally hold her back from storming over to confront him. We spent hours deleting photos, untagging myself, and blocking him on every platform, phone, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, just to be safe. Monday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 30 texts. Everything from, "You'll regret this," to, "I'm sorry, please, let's talk." I didn't respond. I called in sick to work, my wrist still hurt, but honestly, I just couldn't face anyone. Then came the twist, Tiago showed up at my parents' house. Apparently, he spun a story about me being mentally unstable, throwing him out, and recording him secretly. He even showed a scratch on his face that I didn't give him. My mom's face was careful, trying to gauge me. My dad? Quiet. Observing. I explained calmly, showing the video and translation. His parents called me a free housekeeper. He laughed. He mocked me. My mom went from skeptical to furious, at him. My dad, usually chill, went silent in that scary, calculating way. He asked for details about Tiago's work schedule and delivery routes. My parents went full protective mode. Dinner continued, normal in appearance, but the tension was palpable. I felt a mix of relief, validation, and lingering anger. One decent person existed in that mess, my parents. And finally, I wasn't alone in seeing Tiago for who he truly was. My mom tried to ask where he was going, but he just said he'd be back soon and left. We both exchanged a look, realizing exactly what he was probably doing. I immediately tried calling my dad, but no answer. My heart was racing. What if things got out of hand with Tiago? My mom stayed calm, reminding me that my dad wasn't stupid and wouldn't do anything reckless. We spent the next 2 hours anxiously trying to reach him. Then, around 9:30 p.m., we heard a car pull into the driveway. My dad walked in, completely calm, like he'd just gone out for groceries. When we demanded to know where he'd been, he calmly told us he'd gone to Tiago's delivery job, waited for him to finish his shift, and confronted him. My dad said he stayed calm, but made it clear that he knew everything: the video, the translations, and the incident with my wrist. He told Tiago in no uncertain terms to stay away from me and my family. Tiago tried to defend himself at first, claiming a misunderstanding. But when my dad mentioned specific things from the video, Tiago went pale. My dad warned him that if he ever came near us again or spread more lies, there would be consequences. He didn't say what those consequences were, and honestly, I didn't want to know. My dad said, "You sat at our table eating our food, then called my daughter a maid good only for cleaning up after you. Speak that way again, and you'll regret it." Tiago didn't say another word, he just stood there, stunned, as my dad walked away. I felt a swirl of emotions: relief that someone had defended me so fiercely, embarrassment that my parents had to get involved, and lingering anxiety about what Tiago might do next. I stayed the night at my parents' house, mostly because I was emotionally drained. Over breakfast the next morning, my mom suggested I consider filing a restraining order. After everything, I'm seriously thinking about it, but the process feels complicated, and I'm unsure if it would be granted. Tiago's cousin reached out on Instagram, saying that after my dad confronted him, Tiago had called his mother. She was furious, not at us, but at him for embarrassing the family. His cousin said Tiago had been crashing on friends' couches since I kicked him out, lost his delivery job for being late, and was running out of options. I'm heading back to my apartment today. Bridget offered to stay with me for a few days, but I think I can handle it. I've notified the building manager, just in case. On a side note, I've started therapy. My first session was the morning before visiting my parents, and my therapist has already been incredibly helpful in unpacking how I ignored red flags and letting me work on boundaries and self-worth. It's been almost 2 weeks since my last update. I wasn't planning to post again, thinking the Tiago saga was over, but yesterday took things to a whole new level. After 10 quiet days post-confrontation, I had settled back into my routine and even redecorated my apartment a bit to reclaim my space. My therapist suggested journaling, which sounded cheesy at first, but writing everything down has actually helped. Tuesday started normal: skincare, coffee, back-to-back work meetings, until I noticed 3 missed calls and a voicemail from an unknown number. It was Tiago. His voice was slurred, switching between English and his native language. He was pleading, angry, desperate, saying I owed him a conversation. I deleted the voicemail, blocked the number, and texted Bridget. She suggested I alert office security. Our building has 2 security guards: Ron, an older guy with military experience, and Alexis, a newer hire. I told them what was happening. By 4:30 p.m., Tiago appeared at the front desk, trying to push past Alexis. I ducked behind a column, panicking. Ron immediately stepped in, blocking him. Then Marcus walked by. Tiago saw me, and his demeanor changed. He shoved past Ron, yelling that I'd ruined his life and accusing me of moving on with Marcus. People from nearby offices started looking. Tiago was crying, pleading, alternating between insults and desperate apologies. Alexis called for backup as he lunged at me, swinging at Marcus and missing by inches. Security finally grabbed him, removing him from the building while he shouted that I'd regret this. My boss escorted me out, telling me to take the day off. I called Bridget from the parking garage, shaking, and she met me with takeout. She stayed the night to make sure I was safe. I filed a police report. While they couldn't arrest him for showing up at work, they helped me start the restraining order process. Tiago's cousin updated me again. After the office incident, Tiago went on a bender, posting angry Instagram stories. His parents have intervened and booked a one-way ticket home for him. He's running out of places to go and money to spend. I've triple-checked my locks, and Bridget is staying another night for safety. I'm still processing everything, but I feel stronger than ever knowing I made the right choice. Once his cousin confirms he actually leaves the country, I can finally breathe. Thank you to everyone who followed this story and offered advice. You kept me strong when I doubted myself. I'll post one final update once the restraining order is finalized or if I get confirmation he's gone.